And here we are again, just you and I, nobody else, no Ron to interfere with us. uh, your microphone is now officially on, so we can hear you laugh.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
That was
Uh,
thanks for that reminder. I forgot it was off,
yeah.
which
Well,
I think
so
you
that
realized.
well, you know me. My spiritual gift is I'm a nag. I am a nag, and I'm good at it. I am well practiced at it after all of these years. And Joy, my beloved wife of now 49 years, you dated 3 years before that, loves it that I'm a nag, except when it's directed at her. Then she
Okay.
doesn't like it so much.
That's understandable.
And Le Regenerat says hello from Hoosierland to anyone here. So we're saying
Oh,
hi back. And
hi.
I'm sure others will join us as we go.
I hope
So
so.
our topic for today is the Enneagram a personality profile? Melanie Garrett from Colorado. Melanie
Hey.
Garrett from Colorado. Hey, Melanie. Uh, so the question is it a personality profile? That seems to be the mythology that currently is raging through the church, that you're just getting too exorcised over this. It's really not that big a deal. It's just a personality
Right.
profile, like, I don't know, the DISC personality profile or the Myers Stratton personality profile, or, I mean, Myers Briggs. Uh, that is not the case, though, in this instance, is it?
No, no, it isn't. And I want to point out, actually, somebody who asked about the DISC Strengths Finder or whatever pointed out that that's not a personality profile anyway.
Right.
It's for something completely different. So most people compare it or think they can compare it to the Myers Briggs. Um, and the thing is, the Enneagram was never intended to be about personality, about the self. It was a diagram of all the laws of the universe, according to Gurdjieff, who's the one who came up with it in the early 20th century. And it was considered to be like his tool for understanding reality. And that was how it was taught. And he did all kinds of fancy things with it and played around with it mathematically. He said that it illustrated the laws of 3 and 7 and other things. And his student Uspensky wrote about it, and it was taught as a tool and used as a tool by followers of Gurdjieff's teachings, which you could consider sort of a Gnostic, early New Age spirituality.
What
And that was what.
one of the things that I found interesting about Ospinski is he said that you can only get out of the Enneagram what you bring to it. So in other words, it doesn't give you information on its own. You have to bring information to it.
And I would agree with that, because that's really how things in the New Age work, and in the occult. You read a meaning into it, and you maybe decide what this represents, and then you get information according to that, that parameter that you put on it. And
That would be
it
like my
doesn't have any information in it on its own.
that would be like my magic glass cases. It can tell you everything you want to know as long as you bring to it what it is that you want it to say.
Well, as long as you put your glasses on, then you can see. But
Well, that's
sitting
the thing. They're magic. It just comes through the glasses. You don't even have to be wearing them.
I mean, sitting in your glass case, I mean, that's a good illustration. It doesn't mean anything. You can't see if it's sitting in your eyeglass case. You have to put them on. But that's a real object that actually has been tested and actually improves your eyesight. The Enneagram is something that came out of the mind of an esoteric Gnostic early New Age teacher. And from there, it traveled on for a while, and then took on some more ideas. Oscar Ichazo, sometimes I have seen people say he came up with the personality traits, or he and Naranjo came up with it, and it's really not true. Ichazo taught it also as a very esoteric occult tool. He was an occult teacher, after all. I mean, he was not
Right. Right.
He was
So,
not trying to be or claiming to be a psychologist. He was teaching these esoteric doctrines about the false self, the ego fixations. You were driven by passions and by false ideas about who you are that are put on you by society or by your parents or in childhood or through your experiences, and you're driven by those, and you think that that's who you are, and so you take that on as your false self. And so the goal is to uncover this false self and get to the true essence, which is pure, according to
pure, unsinful,
Chazo. It's
untouched by sin. Well, Aurora says the same thing.
unsullied, yes,
Yeah.
unsullied.
Okay. So we want to be guarded on our time here because you and I want to try to keep this a little
Right.
bit short.
Yes.
Melly Garrett asked, do you think this corresponds to the 9 stories of Lucifer listed in Ezekiel 28? I don't know if we're going to have time to comment on that because we're now at 6.5 minutes.
The nine what?
The 9 stories of Lucifer listed in Ezekiel 28.
I know Ezekiel 28, and I know there's a passage there that is, I think it's a rebuke to the Prince of Tyre, if I recall correctly.
Right.
And it's not actually doesn't name Satan.
Lucifer.
And I've done some posts on that actually. And some people think that there are allusions to Satan there. However, it's not clear because a lot of the language used was language that was claimed by the pagan rulers at the time. They claimed to be gods. They claimed to, have all of these special powers. They claimed all this stuff. So we can't say for sure because it's actually one of the many judgments that God is pronouncing through Ezekiel on various pagan rulers.
Right.
And it's the same in Isaiah 14. Now, I would not, even if you want to see it as referring to Satan, I would not say the Enneagram has anything to do with that. No, there's no connection at all. Yeah. Good question, but no connection.
Not a direct connection to Ezekiel, certainly, but that doesn't mean there's not a connection to Satan.
Well, that's true. Yeah, but I wouldn't go to Ezekiel to look for the connection.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we can look a lot closer. We can just look at Gurdjieff and Ichazo and Naranjo.
Exactly. All right, so we're going to do something here. We're going to actually do a quote, and all of this is in the book, by the way, Richard Rohr and the Enneagram Secret. So if you don't have it, you want to get it, because then you'll have everything you need to know about the Enneagram. So I'd like to share, though, a quote here, just briefly, and then we have another one, so you can comment on this, Marcia. The first one is, one of my teachers, Russ Hudson, says, quote, "This isn't a type of person, but a path to God," end quote. I believe it's sacred because as a map of our soul, it's a compassionate sketch of possibilities. The Enneagram is less about 9 types of people and more about 9 paths back to our true selves and 9 paths to divine love. That's Chris Wertz in an interview with Jonathan Merritt. Comments?
Yes, I would love to comment on that. He's actually being truer to what the Enneagram is than people who say it's just a personality profile. I think that his statement validates what we've been trying to say about the Enneagram, which is that it was never intended to be about your personality. It wasn't even intended to be about 9 types. That's something that was added on later artificially. So what Hertz is saying there, he's kind of going back to the idea of Ichazo. And this is this idea, this kind of Gnostic New Age idea that you have this innate pure self that's unsullied by anything. And in some cases, some people say it's divine. Now, I don't think Hertz has gone that far, but he gets very close to it. And of course, since he was mentored and discipled by Richard Rohr, it's no surprise that he says this. I'm sure that he got some of this from Rohr, but he mentions in that quote that you cited there, Russ Hudson. Now, a lot of Christians don't seem to realize that Russ Hudson is a New Ager. Russ Hudson and Don Riso co-founded the Enneagram Institute. which is a New Age organization. There's nothing scientific or special about it. And Russ Hudson is like 150% pure New Age. Really, it's just you can't get more New Age than Russ Hudson. Right. And so Russ Hudson was one of Chris Horitz's 3 New Age teachers. Chris Horitz says his Enneagram teachers were Richard Rohr, and then he names 3 New Agers: Russ Hudson, Helen Palmer, one other whose name escapes me now. So that's why he's quoting or talking about Russ Hudson. That was one of his Enneagram teachers.
Okay, so we're going to do one more quote now, and then we're going to ask you to comment on it, and that will be it for today, and that is going to be from Ian Cron.
Oh, okay.
Who says, if its sketchy origins weren't enough to spook the mules, there is no scientific evidence that proves the Enneagram is a reliable measurement of personality. Who cares that millions of people thought it was accurate? Grizzly Man thought he could make friends with bears, and we know how that turned out. That's Ian Cron, The Road Back to You, page 11. So...
there you go. I mean, he just is very upfront in saying that there's really nothing to make this valid. And this is what amazes me, Don. It's not so much that he says that, although that is surprising that he says that. What amazes me is that this book is one of the most popular books used in the church. I have heard it recommended to women's Bible studies. People have privately told me in Messenger that this book was recommended to them by a pastor or someone in their church who's teaching the Enneagram. And I think, how could they possibly read that? That's on page 11. And I've read it myself because I have the book. How could you read that and then continue on with the book? I don't get it. There's nothing that he says in that chapter that's Christian at all.
Right.
It doesn't surprise me.
It isn't slick. It isn't hiding anything. He's right up front to say
it's
not scientific. There's no evidence for it. So he's saying, use this at your own spiritual risk and peril. That's what he's saying.
That's pretty much what he's saying. Exactly. Especially with the reference to the Grizzly Man, which was, if people don't know that, there was a movie about that. A man who went up to befriend grizzly bears. He was filming them, and he actually was able to get close to them, and he felt like they were accepting him. And then it ended up that he was killed. He and his girlfriend were killed. Now, some say these were bears that were new bears that did not know him and came from another area, and that could be. But still, the idea here that Ian Cron is using is that, he thought it was safe, and then it ended up, being...
it was dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, it ended up being the end of his life. So
right. Bears are he truly did become one with the bears.
He did. Ian Cron is saying, hey, and then he says sketchy origins. Well, it's not true that the origins are sketchy. We know the origins. We have them all laid out.
Well, right.
I had that in my first article in 2011, and other, Mitch Pacwa did that. And it's in our book in much more detail. So you can really see the evolution of the Enneagram.
Right. So for those who are watching this either live or Memorex, if you remember that reference, we're going to close it out for today, but you can pick up our book. There we go. There's the book. Richard Rohr and the Secret Enneagram. You can get it off of our website, enneagramsecret.com. There's other material there that you can look at, or you could go to Amazon. They have the Kindle version online now, and they will have the book itself on May 13. You can pre-order that. Or you can, like I said, you go to our website, enneagramsecret.com, and order it and have it in a few days. So with that, Marcia, if you can hold on a second, we're going to wave goodbye to everybody else. So
okay.
I'm going to cancel this, and we can wave.
Oh, okay. Thanks for, I know that doesn't look right. Thanks for joining us.